The hardest part about playing good tennis is tempo management, finding the right swing speed to match different opponents in different situations. I played a set of tennis last week, a set and a half of tennis against an opponent that I've played against a couple times now. I'm continuing to make a little bit of a comeback towards playing tennis, and I'm being met with an old nemesis, and that is trying to find the right swing tempo. And I want to unpack this concept for you today. And in just a second, I'm going to show you some highlights from this match that I just played against this 4-5 player at a local club. He coaches, he teaches. He and I have been hitting and playing once per week. And I'm starting to struggle a little bit, but also navigating it better than the last time I kind of made a comeback to tennis. That is playing tennis. I've been on the court a lot, but just with students. Let me set up this concept for you. We've got a tachometer here, a rev gauge from a car. And this, but I'm just using this as an illustration, okay? This is not like to scale. This isn't like super scientific or accurate. This is just to illustrate the point, okay? Let's just say that this blue area is beginner tennis, let's say up until the 3-0 level. And the yellow range, let's say, is intermediate, up until about the 4-0 level. And then the green is advanced, let's say up until the 5-0 level. And then the red, let's just say this is like human, like hitting the end of the rev meter, and we're redlining. This is essentially as hard as a human can hit the ball. And by tempo, I mean swing speed. How fast are we accelerating? How intensely are we using our body? How fast is the racket moving to generate power and generate spin on the ball? Now, I've been used to hanging out around this range, 3-0, 3-5 players, when I facilitate practice, when I do cooperative rallies, when I play in and I help players with strategy. It's normally around a 3-5 level. And if you're a 3-5 player, then you probably like have a zone in here that's most comfortable for you. And if the ball goes a little bit faster than that, then it's uncomfortable and it stresses you out a little bit. But also, if the ball goes a little slower than that, then it's also not comfortable. And in general, people tend to want to hang out a little bit on the fast end of their comfort zone because they feel like that's how they're going to get better, is by being exposed to faster and faster balls and getting more comfortable. And there's a lot of truth to that. But here's the thing. You'll never stop dealing with balls on the other end of your comfort zone in terms of tempo either. And so for me, over the last year and a half or so, I've been mostly just hanging out in this zone. And now over the last couple weeks, I've had to try to jump up over here against 4-5 and 4-5 plus players. Last week, I shared some highlights against a recent college graduate who beat me quite easily. It was 6-1 and didn't necessarily, well, yeah, he rolled over me, okay? His intensity level was way higher than what I've been used to over the last year and a half. So against him, it felt like I was just in panic zone constantly. And ironically, I actually hit pretty well because I had no margin. I had like no room to think. I had no room to breathe. Like my heart rate was high the whole time. I was swinging about as fast as I could possibly feel comfortable with just to try to stay even with him. And now, last week, so here, just to illustrate this, I think visualizing this, at least for me, is really helpful. So 2 weeks ago, I played against a player who was like in here. And I, in the previous weeks, played somebody who was like in here. And so 2 weeks ago, when I played this player, it was like survival mode the whole time. And I never really got any slow shots that I had more time than I knew what to do with. Last week, I played kind of a middle-of-the-road 4-5 player. Oops, sorry about that. He's like in here. Solid player. He coaches, he teaches, but not a recent college graduate, not as high intensity. And so last week, all of a sudden, I felt myself, oops, sorry about that. I missed some of my colors here. Here's the green. So here's like 4-5, like to 5-0 range. And last week, I played against a player who was like in here. And all of a sudden, I felt myself having some margin, a little bit of extra time. my heart rate coming down a little bit lower. And so here's the deceptive part, everybody. When you're used to hanging out here, you're still going to get balls that are in this range of the spectrum. You're still going to get balls that are in this range of the spectrum, and this range of the spectrum, and this range of the spectrum. And especially as you start to swing more freely and you start to attack and challenge your opponent, you're going to get shots that come back to you that are significantly slower than what is maybe the average tempo, the average speed. And then what do we do with that ball? Well, we have 3 different options, roughly speaking. We can send it back at the same speed we got it at, and that's not competitive against this player. If we're playing against somebody who's hanging out here and they send us a ball because we pressured them that's here, and then we send the ball back again at this speed, they're just going to slap the next one for a winner. If they send us a ball here and we're like, oh, sweet, I've got a big opportunity here to attack, and we overhit, and the very next ball we like over rev and we swing up here, we're going to make a lot of mistakes. And so is this sounding familiar? When we receive balls that are too slow, it's easy to overhit. It's also easy to just like match and like mimic and mirror the tempo we receive and send back a ball that's not competitive at all. And so one of the hardest parts about getting better at tennis is as you improve and advance your skills, and as you make your way through this like range of tempos and your ability to hit the ball harder and harder improves, shots at this range don't go away. Shots at this range don't go away. Shots at this range don't go away. You're even going to get some down here. And if your average swing tempo that is kind of middle of the road for you and your opponent is up here, then you have to receive that slower ball but still send it back in this range to maintain your control on the point without going up to here and overswinging at too high of a tempo past your comfort zone and spraying the ball and making all kinds of unforced errors and essentially like just handing over points to your opponent. And so the wider your range, so if right now, and I don't mean this in a judgmental way, I don't mean this in a condescending way, I'm just trying to illustrate the point, okay? So if right now this is your sweet spot, then you only have to worry about this range and maybe a little bit above your range, but you're never dealing with balls up here, right? You're like in the ballpark of your range, and you're also going to play players who are weaker than you. When you're a solid 4 or 5 player, you're going to get balls that are all across this range. And so the span is much bigger. And you're going to get a couple occasionally that are up in this zone. And you have to find your way back to a swing tempo for yourself that's not too weak, but also not too strong. If it's too weak, your opponent is going to roll over you on the very next ball. And if it's too strong, if it's outside of your ability to control, then you're going to end up making a lot of unforced errors. And so the higher you climb the ladder of tennis levels, the wider the range of different speeds you have to be able to receive and send the ball back at the best possible tempo. Okay, so here's some highlight points. So I tagged all of these points in Swing Vision because they're examples of points that I received a ball where I had some margin to play with, but I either sent the ball back too slow or I overcooked it and I swung too fast. Because I'm just starting to have a little bit of margin against these 4 or 5 players again, and now figuring out what to do with it after solid year and a half of just sending back 3-0 level balls, 3-5 level balls, occasionally 4-0 level balls, and not really pushing my range or my personal tempo at all. All of a sudden, this is a big problem and a big challenge. All right, so here's some examples. I'll play through a couple. So these are all examples of either overcooking or not hitting aggressively enough. So that's a good tempo, big opportunity, and there's no reason to hit that ball that close to the line. Just neutralizing a serve. This I dropped down low. I got the ball I wanted. There's no reason to aim that close to the line. I missed that wide. That was on a break point. Lots of margin there, and then just unforced error on an easy ball. And now you'll see some examples as well where I got an opportunity and I hit the ball too weakly. So just neutral exchange here, neutral exchange. I hit the ball deep. He gives me a short ball. Should have lost. Should have lost that point. Right into the net. Not finding the right tempo. So this one is too weak. I mean, I just hit the ball right to him. And so that was too low on the tempo scale. Just neutral balls. Now this is the weak one. And right into the net. And the hard part is, these are the points that are most frustrating to lose, right? After we go to the trouble of setting up the point, we hit a good shot, we get a weak ball. That's not good. I mean, I just hit it right to his strike zone. That was on break point, by the way. So lots of examples here. And here, let me do this one so you can see a couple more examples. These are all examples of me receiving a ball that was slower than what my comfort zone is, and then either going too low on the scale or too high on the scale, and both are like critical mistakes. So what's the solution? Like what's the bottom line here? I think exposure, awareness, and then giving yourself training and practice repetitions. I think the only way to really get around this is to be mindful that it is happening, and then give yourself a lot of exposure to players who are a little bit above your level, so you can try to manage the tempo on your side of the court. But also, please hear me loud and clear here. It's critical that you do play against players that are below your comfort level, so that you can get acclimated to receiving their weaker ball and sending back a stronger one without overcooking it and like over revving it on the rev meter. Does that make sense? This is something I've been noticing in my own game for years, but I feel like I'm just starting to be able to kind of articulate it. Hopefully the illustration here was really helpful. This really helps me kind of visualize it. You have to be effective across like the whole range from wherever you are to a little bit above and also everything below. And it's not bad tennis if your opponent sends you a bunch of shots that are below your comfort zone and you don't know what to do with it. That's a you problem. That's not they're a bad player and oh, this isn't real tennis. That is I want to use strong language here, but I also want to keep things family friendly. That is the most BS, weak, lame attitude ever. You take responsibility for the ball coming off your racket. And whatever your opponent sends you is fair game in a competitive environment. And if they find something that you can't deal with, frankly, it is their duty to send you that ball over and over and over again to try to find a way to make you uncomfortable and get the advantage in the match. Okay, gonna stop there. Otherwise, I'll just keep talking forever. Hopefully something here is helpful. Thanks for watching. I'm going to continue. I've got another set up against this player, and I feel like with a couple more sessions, I should be able to make it real close. This last week, I lost 3-6, and then I was up 3-1 in the second set. Started to find more steady tempo, and so this is my project right now, as I'm just playing once per week, early in the morning. And I'm going to continue to record it and share what I'm learning as I start to play more tennis. Thanks for watching. Talk to you again soon.